Hello, everybody, and my name is Tatiana Shelebko. We are now starting the Cambridge University Press webinar, Prepare for Exams and How to Practice for it. And the first thing I will ask you to do is to find the question box button and the hands up button. We will be using the question box button today, and unfortunately you won't be able to see the response of the other participants, but I will see all of them and I will read them out. So anyways, if there is a question, please feel free to answer these questions. All right, and the first thing, could you please press the hands up button if you can see if you can see the screen, if you can see me, and if you can hear me. Yeah. All right, we've got 700 participants right at this moment. Okay, great. And I already have a few questions at once. Those are not questions, those are greetings. We have participants from Odessa, Sumy, Dnipro, Marhanets, Lviv, Skadovsk, Ochtyrka, Chernivtsi, Cherkasy, Ternopil. Okay, I guess we have loads of people from all over Ukraine here. Rivne, Volyn, Lviv, Yuzhny, great, I've been there once. Kolomyia, Khmelnytsky, Kharkiv, Kakhovka. Okay, I will stop reading this. And thank you very much. I'm glad everybody can see everything. So we are ready to start. And today we will discuss what's the difference between teaching and testing, and how to prepare for exams, but not to forget about how to prepare students for life, because exam is a one-time activity, and what we teach should actually be applicable for life. To life anyways. And we will talk about what makes a good story, because we will be looking at the examples for writing. What makes a good story? We'll talk about content and format, particularly for exam. And at once I will tell you that you don't have to send me emails or send your emails here, because you will receive your certificates automatically within in the thank you letter within a few days after this webinar. So check your email, your mailbox, and check your junk mail folder as well, because it can go there. All right, and we are ready to start. So at the first slide, you can see the words class and the word exam. We will look at the differences between class, how learning is happening in the class, and what exactly is happening during the exam. So in the class, there is input. During the exam, there is output. In the class, we can have opportunities. During the exam, I wrote here the only chance to pass the exam. So this is something to stop and think about, because if we have opportunities in the class, we shouldn't create the atmosphere, that stressful atmosphere where students need to prepare for exam as for stress. This is the final, their final like presentation, performance, yeah, where they can present the results of their learning. But in the class, they should have these opportunities. They shouldn't work only on the result, but also take something from the process. In the class, students practice. During the exam, students already perform. In the class, we can provide students with help, but during the exam, we provide our judgment. And in the class, we can have fun, we can feel safe, but during the exam, there is stress. And there is such a big difference because sometimes when we are in the classroom and we provide the teaching, we might try to create this stressful atmosphere, to make a countdown till the exam time. But what we need to do, we need to provide students with more challenge. So we have their panic zone during the exam, and we have the comfort zone in the classroom. But what we need to do in the classroom is to create this stretch zone, not the stress already, but not the comfort zone yet. And in this stretch zone, students need to be challenged, and students need to understand final result not as the exam mark, but also as the performance of their real knowledge, which is applicable to life. And when we look at teaching, at testing, let's check whether we are testing students all the time. Do we provide them with teaching really during the lessons when we prepare our students for exams? So, okay, we've got a lot of questions. I will look at that. Okay, there is no chat. You can send me your questions, but you won't be able to see other participants' questions, unfortunately. I can tell you that for now we have 750 participants at this webinar, and this platform doesn't allow to chat between each other. But I will come back to your questions after the webinar, and we will look at that. So in the teaching process, students need to discover things. We facilitate this discovery process when in the time of testing, we check their knowledge. We check what they've learned, and we usually try to present the material and then check, present and check. So this is testing. And while teaching, we create circumstances where students are able to discover things and to make mistakes and to correct their own mistakes, where this becomes more valuable. The knowledge students get in this process becomes much more valuable for them and more memorable for sure. If we a little bit loosen this sense of control that we have when especially we are also stressed when we have to prepare students for exams. So if we loosen this sense of control, students feel more responsibility on their own learning and try to discover things. During teaching, in the classroom, students have this opportunity to practice, and in testing we check their results. We are result oriented. Of course, teaching should be result oriented, but I would rather say that we need to look at the aim, not the final product, but at the aim first of all. And what is the main aim of any course? To like if we set an aim as pass the exam, we lose in teaching for sure, because our aim is to help a student become a better person who can use English, who can acquire this language proficiency till the level we need them to be at, and to use this language in real life. And this is what we have in the teaching part, because in testing, yes, we are interested in the result. So what are we doing at the lessons? Are we setting the goals properly? Whether we want students just to pass an exam or to use this English we teach them and these life skills we teach them in their everyday life. And yeah, teaching can be fun. Testing most probably is stressful. And teaching is a process. When testing, for testing, we have the countdown. I was mentioning it. So do we really need to create the circumstances of the test every lesson? No. What we need to do is to provide a safe, interesting, interactive, but challenging teaching process where there should be points where we check, where we are result-oriented, where we rehearse the exam, but still we are not making it the only aim. And what are we going to do today? We will look at one of the exam-oriented lessons in Prepare, Prepare B1, level B1, and this is level 5. We will look at the page 35, the writing part, and also at the page 127, the exam tips at the end of the book. We will look at the exam tips for writing a story, and let's start. So talking about the story, and yeah, so this is writing part, a story. Talking about the stories, do we really need students to write stories? And now I will ask you to put your answers in the question box. There is a button with a question mark. You can press it and type in your answers. Why do we need stories in real life? Do we ever write stories? Do we tell stories? Do we really need that? For what? Okay, I've got creativity, developing creativity. Lena says to develop conventional skills, to make language productive, use imagination, improve writing skills, developing imagination, arouse interest, sharing experience, develop writing skills, speaking skills, communication, okay, teaching life. Share experiences, inform somebody about something. I like that one. Ideas to write a letter. Yeah, that's a good one. Develop memory. Develop critical thinking, training vocabulary. Level of grammar. Okay. To make our lessons engaging, writing skills, conventional skills, practice, soft skills, we call them life competencies, according to the Cambridge framework for life competencies. We will look at them today. Using new words, express ourselves, that's a good one. Creativity and expressing ourselves, okay. Make language productive. Okay, thank you for so many answers. And I will move on. I was thinking about where I might have used stories in my real life. And since we are teachers, we're thinking with teaching concepts, thinking about what we can teach with stories. So we develop what we can develop in students. Yeah, we develop memory, we develop imagination. These are psychological elements. Yes, different cognitive elements. We develop their life competencies as critical thinking, as creativity, as collaboration, maybe communication for sure. We develop writing, listening, speaking, and what's the last one? Writing, listening, speaking, reading skills, and yes, all of these things we do develop, but how are they actually applicable for life? So students grow up, become students of the universities, graduate, go to work. How do they really use stories? And I was thinking about that in filmmaking, it's the most crucial thing. The story as not just 1, 2, 3 with points, but a good story with events requires a good plot and really good writing skills. Not only writing skills, this is very secondary, but critical and creative thinking skills. And in filmmaking, people think with stories, as well as in theater, as well as in other creative industries. In commercials, in marketing, in public speaking as well, presentations, media. So in all the levels where students achieve some point where they need to deliver a presentation or need to present their idea or report about the results of their work in any field, stories are the best thing to work with, because stories are engaging and they provoke interest of their listeners or viewers. And this story-based thinking can help students really in their future profession, whatever it is, for their interviews and for their way of thinking. And I prepared, as usual, the table with Cambridge Framework for Life Competencies. And let's look at what life competencies are we developing during the story time. So in creative thinking, I would say all of them, because well, yeah, mostly when we are producing some language, it's using newly created content to solve problems and make decisions. How do we really use stories? We ask students at the lesson, okay, here is the task. We need to write a story. It should be 100 words. And this is the aim. But is it the aim in real life for creating a story? This is not. This is some linking part, a story. So we use a story to solve some problem or to make a decision. We can use a story for a project. And this is something that we will be focusing on today. Of course, participating in creative activities, creating new content from own ideas or other resources is here. In terms of critical thinking, understanding and analyzing links between ideas, especially in the story, how these events are connected between each other. Then we have, synthesizing ideas and information. Then we have taking control of own learning. And here at the communication stage, we work with using appropriate language and register for context, but this is writing communication, so we are trying to make our story understandable and interesting. So yes, using appropriate language. In terms of collaboration, managing the sharing of tasks in a project, I've put here, and you will see why later on. And in terms of social responsibilities, understanding personal responsibilities as part of a group and in society, including citizenship. So also taking active roles, including leadership, and I guess this is it. Okay, at this point, I've got a lot of questions. I guess everything is fine. Okay. So moving on, the first task in this writing lesson. Do you enjoy reading stories? What makes a story interesting? So when we ask a question, do you enjoy reading stories? This is, I would say, a little bit not relevant for teenagers, because we perceive stories these days more through films, through different resources that provide us with pictures. And we need to think what really might be interesting for students, and then lead them to the point that, yes, first it should be written, read, and then it becomes a story. Talking about that, I would research what exactly are students watching these days, what is interesting for them, and ask them about a memorable character, interesting setting, as it's called in the story, interesting place, a clever plot. And I would think about some films they might have watched. The latest ones I've watched, and something that can be relevant for teenagers, is Spider-Man. I only watched the first part, and How to Tame a Dragon. Right? This one is a really good cartoon. So if you know that your students are interested in these, you can think about that. So why is it a good story? Ask them. Why is Spider-Man, for example, a good story? And they would think about the main event at once, because this is a story where simple boy becomes a superhero. And this is the main event. The rest are circulating around this event. So what makes a good story? Your students will answer these questions if you provide them with the examples that are interesting for them. And here I would like to talk with you about what really makes a good plot. So students will be able to make a good plot on their own. And to think about that, I'm pretty sure that all of you know some good story, which is a story about Kolobok. I'm sure that all of you read it, or at least heard it as a child. So we will look at Kolobok with a very simple composition. And what makes Kolobok a good story? There is exposition, there is development, there is climax, and there is resolution. And what makes a good story? Just 4 sentences can be a good, understandable story if they are all connected to these points: exposition, development, climax, and resolution. And in the exposition of Kolobok, what do we have there? And to answer this question, I will ask you to type in the chat what's going on in the exposition of Kolobok. Okay, I will ask this question again. I don't have any answers yet. So what is going on in the exposition? Describing a family, okay. Grandmother and grandfather. Grandmother and father are making it. Baking color book, okay. Daily routine, that's a good one. Conversation, main hero appears. Creating, baking. Okay, what I like about the way you think here is that you think with verbs. And this is something you need to ask your students to do as well, because a verb means an event. And what we are interested in is the event. We are not interested in descriptions. We are not really interested in the language. In the stories, first of all, we're interested in events. And in the climax, of course, we've got the main event. In the exposition, we've got an event that starts the story and sets the whole thing. So the event is baking color book, right? And in this event, we introduce grandmother, grandfather, who decide that they have no children and they want to make their own color book to become their child, and they make it. So this is exposition, and the main thing, they create this round piece of bread. So here we go. Grandmother and grandfather. What's going on in the development? So, in the development point, type in the chat whatever comes to your mind. Running away, escaping, traveling, meeting animals, escaping, meeting animals. Okay, yes, that's perfect. I love the fact that you put it all together. So escaping, and I would say not meeting animals, but avoiding that animals eat him. Because this is what is important about these events. Yeah, he avoids being eaten, and all of these little events are in the development. They are separate, but we can actually we can put it all together in one point, because this is something that develops the rise of the action. Yeah, he escapes a rabbit, he escapes I've put the pictures here not to forget. Okay, a rabbit, a wolf, and a bear. He escapes all of them. But also we put the fox here because the story is the same every time. So this is a repetition of one and the same event, which becomes more and more threatening. And this repetition is something, as somebody said, daily routine. It becomes a routine. So it's not interesting anymore. And that's why I've put it all in one event. And he meets the fox. And we are actually expecting that this might be the same. He might escape again. So what's going to happen next? But then something changes, and in the climax, meeting a fox is not a climax yet. It's still here in the development. But when he sits on the fox's nose, this is the climax. We see that he didn't escape, he didn't avoid. This is different, and this is unexpected. That's why this is the climax. And then in the resolution, the fox has eaten this bread man, this is the resolution. It's very fast. What is important for a good story, not to make this fall or denouncement of the action too slow right after the climax. So we've got the climax and resolution all together very fast. And thinking this way is event thinking, is the story thinking. This is how we would make a cartoon that would be interesting. And visual thinking for today's kids teens is really important, and visual explanations. But then what stands behind it? A story, yeah, that has been written, and then it was made a film, as with Spider-Man, and it was a lot of writing, and it wouldn't happen if nobody wrote it. So we think with events, but we act with writing. And today's students are more visual than us, that's for sure. We most probably read more books, and we can benefit from it. It doesn't mean that we have to make them read to write better. We can provoke reading. And with this visual thinking, visual storytelling, filmmaking, where we use stories, but also there are Instagram stories, which is really popular thing between, I would say, between us two, but with teenagers as well. Ask your teenagers, what makes an Instagram story interesting? Why would you watch an Instagram story of one person and wouldn't watch of another person if it's a film? Most probably they would say that if the story is simple and it makes sense, if this person whose story we are watching is a celebrity and so on, but why exactly? In the sense they are more interesting, because good Instagram stories are well prepared and the script is written there. And this is the secret why these stories are interesting. When the people who make these stories are telling something that makes sense. Okay, I will move on. How it's done. For example, here is the law of sequencing in films or in theater. When we want to make a good story, we think with 4 shots. Just 4 shots for each action. Everything has the beginning, development, climax, and ending. Everything in a film. And we are not talking about the whole plot, but even about 4 little shorts. How the film starts, for example. Here I have exposition. I took an apple. Development. I bit a piece of this apple. Climax. I broke my tooth. And resolution. Can you have your idea? I mean, put it in the chat box. Okay, I've got here. I went to the dentist, went to the doctor, visited the doctor. Oh my God, somebody wrote died. Went to the dentist, one more. Called the doctor. hate apples. That was my idea as well, Elena. And Lesa, yeah, thank you. And I swallowed it. Ooh, had to visit, cried all the day. Now I have false teeth, fake teeth, I guess, yeah. What's the word? Okay. I will never eat apples again, Julia, thank you. Met a tooth fairy. Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you, Elena. Eat apple puree, says Irina. Have new teeth. Okay, I will stop reading here. Yes, when we think of it, it's very simple, but understanding how it works will help your teenagers, starting with these simple things. And actually, it's not very simple when you think of it. If we take another action, I opened a book, sentence 1, exposition, development. I read a sentence in a book. Okay, development. What do we have in a climax? In the same story, what can it be there? For example, I saw my name there. Resolution. It turned out that the author of the book is my friend. And that's a story already, yeah? So we need to think how to start this event from something neutral, something routine, develop this routine and get to the climax that would be unexpected. And this can be also thought in pictures, and it's important to think in pictures, in actions, and in verbs. This is what makes the good story. Okay. Okay, this was just question 1. Question 2, and I'm not telling that you have to do all of these things, but keep them in mind, and maybe you will have 3 lessons for writing a story. In one lesson, you can tell them about sequencing. In another lesson, you can tell students about what makes a good story and take some simple plot. So you can use this information I'm talking about as you need. Okay, question 2. Read Evie's story quickly. How many people have the same glasses? This is the question which I will ask you to answer in your chat box after reading the text. Read the story quickly. How many people have the same sunglasses? And what's important in this task? Time limit. So I give you the time limit. Start and answer the question. How many people wear the same sunglasses? And time's up. Okay, I'm going to the question box. 4, great, yes, this is the correct answer. Thank you very much. This was really great job and done super fast. Thanks. Now, looking at the task 3, a little feedback on this task. So what did we do? We were reading for specific information, yeah, for a specific question, but actually students were looking for this information, but now they looked also somewhere in the background on the structure of the story and on the main events of the story. So let's look at the question 3. read the Prepare to Write box, then read sentences 1, 3 below. We will start with reading sentences 1, 3 below. So where do these parts come from? The beginning, middle, or end of Eve's story. And we've got here, we're all wearing the same glasses. This is at the end. We each picked out a pair. This is from the middle. We were planning a holiday to Spain. This is from the beginning. This is what we have in the book. But if we take our structure, we were looking at the structure, what makes a good story. We will say that there is exposition, planning a holiday to Spain, my brother and I. So we introduce the characters, we introduce the circumstances, and we introduce the reason why we need to buy these sunglasses. Then development. We went to a shopping mall, event 1. There was a sale. One more thing that rises, the action rises. Then we tried on a lot of pairs of glasses. We picked a pair. We had the same. And then the main event comes. Yeah, the climax that we met our friends, but we started laughing because the sunglasses were the same. And resolution, it was, well, there is no resolution, I would say, in this story because there is just opinion. It was funny, which doesn't make this story very good. But this is something that can be improved in the classroom for your students, how to make this resolution so it's interesting, as you did with this apple and now I hate apples. This is resolution, yeah, because it was funny, doesn't make us laugh. But now I hate apples makes us laugh. So think about why that one is resolution and this one is not. And then we have 4. Read Eve's story again and find 3 verbs in the past simple, 3 verbs in the past continuous, 3 adverbs which say when things happen. Why we need this? First of all, we need this task to point out that when we have a story, we use only narrative tenses, which is past simple, past continuous, might be past perfect, but it is not introduced in this topic. So we point out that students should use narrative tenses, but we don't do it like write a story in past simple. We ask them to find the verbs in the text. So here is your task. 3 verbs in the past simple. And what's important here again is that I give you a time limit, which is really short. It's 7 seconds. In 7 seconds, I will ask you, the text will disappear, and I will ask you to type in 3 verbs in the past simple. Let's go. Okay. Where, decided, wanted. Wanted, decided, tried. Decided, wanted, chose. Saw, tried, chose. Picked. Wanted, decided, started, chose. All right, that's great. Here, we can tell students as well that, so these, all of these words come from the very beginning of the text. Now, let's try next time for the next task, let's try to see from different parts of the text. Give me 3 words, 3 verbs in the past continuous from different parts of the text. Okay, ready, steady. I'm giving you the text now, and the time limit is the same, 7 seconds. Let's go. All right, let's look at your answers. We're walking, we're leaving, we're starting, we're planning, we're laughing. All right, these are from different parts of the text. Great. And see, if you compare how much time you spent on the first task and on the second task. On the second task, you spent much less time because you already practiced once and you saw that reading the text from the beginning, each sentence to find past simple doesn't work in this task. What works in this task is to look for specific construction. And this is what you were doing here. You were not reading, you were focused on another task. Yeah, and it's not reading as for pleasure. Okay, the last one. Let's see how much time you spent on this. 3 adverbs which say when the things happen. 3 adverbs which say when the things happened. And here we go. All right. Last week, suddenly, first, next, last week, last. Okay. And why do we need this task? This little part of a task. Okay. We need it not just to search for adverbs, for grammar, yeah, as well as past continuous and past simple. We need it not only to revise grammar, but to make students understand in such way without just presenting that we write stories in past simple and past continuous. We need to use adverbs to tell when it happened. If we do so, students won't do it. If we make it so interactively as the Prepare course gives, students will keep it, because this is a discovery, this is valuable. They will keep it in mind, they will use it as a sample for writing their own story. And these adverbs like first, next, and setting the time at the beginning, last week, this is something that is needed in a story to show the sequence. To if we are talking about, for example, past perfect, that would be before that and other things. So we give them a clue what to use in their own story. Moving on, because it looks like there are 10 minutes of the webinar left, and I would love to answer some questions. So we will go through the rest briefly. And here is an exam tip. Prepare to write. At the beginning of a story, you can introduce characters, say what they're doing, and describe the place or the weather. They can read through this, but what we actually did at the beginning of the lesson, we asked them to discover what makes a good story, what should be there in the exposition, how to make this event interesting in the exposition so it's connected to the climax. So they can read through to summarize what they've learned already. And moving on. from me, I would add that what makes a good story? Good stories are universal. They have very simple and similar structure, and they can see it in the films. For example, if we take, I'm not sure students are fond of Harry Potter these days, but if we take Harry Potter and if we take Spider-Man, what's universal here? This was a simple boy who somehow discovered superpowers, and then there were too many obstacles on his way, and he had to use superpowers to overcome the obstacles, coming to the final fight and winning the final fight, maybe with some loss. Yeah, this is the universal story. It's the same. Then there should be a clear structure and purpose. Why do we need to tell this story? What will we find from that story? What's the belief? But it's a little bit too hard. But still, what's the belief within you that your story feeds off? And what is the greater purpose of this story? What does the story teach? And who are the characters? What are the emotions? And what is the twist in this story? Yeah, in the sunglasses story from Prepare course, we had a twist that they met friends and they were all wearing the same sunglasses. There were good characters. They were in a rush at the beginning, most probably because getting all together for a holiday to Spain, and then running through the shopping mall, trying on a lot of pairs of sunglasses and so on. So ask maybe students to think about it. What if it was a film? What would it look like? And it might spark their motivation. And typical structure of the story, this is something that always works. Once upon a time there was, every day, and here, so once upon a time there was, and we put a character here, a place, and maybe we already set the time there, once upon a time. Then every day, here we are talking about some routine. So if we come back to color book, once upon a time, there was a grandmother and grandfather. Every day they were unhappy because they didn't have children. And one day they decided to bake a color book. This is how the story starts, yeah, in the exposition. The first event. One day they did something differently from what they did every day. Because of that, what happened? Color book came alive and ran away and was running around rolling around the forest until finally he met the fox. So if we take this composition, any story can fit into this composition as well. Almost there are more events, but still. Giving students some simple beginnings of the phrases, beginnings of the abstracts might also help as a communicative task. For example, you put them in pairs and they have to create a story together. For example, me first, I say, once upon a time, there was a hedgehog in the forest. And can you continue the story? Every day, he went for a walk. He did his course. And went to school. Sorry for misreading. He played with a hare. He goes for a walk. He was having fun. He gathered mushrooms. Okay, I've got 3 sentences about mushrooms. So I will take that one. So once upon a time, there was a hedgehog. Every day he was gathering mushrooms. One day he found a magic, I wouldn't say mushroom, he found a magic chicken. Because of that, now your turn. He relaxed. Irina, thank you. So, we've got the story. Once upon a time, there was a hedgehog. Every day he was gathering mushrooms. One day he found a magic chicken. Because of that, he was quite scared. He met a great friend. He gave up gathering mushrooms. He learned to fly. They became friends. He understood he's not alone. Oh, thanks. That's really nice. And I've got the end of the story from Anna Granchak, until he finally woke up. That's a great one. That's an unexpected twist. Yeah, so this is absolutely simple with these beginnings. Of course, we were just playing around here, but with students, I would ask them to once upon a time and then 3 sentences. Yeah, because we need 100 words for the story. Or 2 sentences at the beginning, 2 about every day, 1 about one day. Because of that, I would put here 5 sentences and until 5 and so on. So when we give such a structure, students might relax a little bit more and see how this language, how the structure helps them. And also I would give them a list of words they have to use, or a list of structures they have to use, and I would put the blackboard or whiteboard, whatever it is, that they have to use past simple and past continuous and use it appropriately. Of course, I would do that with students. And when we move on with this apple story, it's absolutely the same. Yeah, but here we just take away the story about the apple, or we make this story bigger and introduce more characters. Yeah, for example, in the exposition, once upon a time my friend gave me an apple, and that was a beautiful red apple. I liked it very much, so I decided that I will keep it for a while, until one day I decided that I finally can eat it because it started rotting. So I took this apple and I bit a piece of an apple, and all of a sudden I broke my tooth. And I was crying because of that. I was crying for such a long time until finally I decided that I don't eat apples anymore. Yeah, so when we add a little bit more to this story, it kind of becomes interesting. And if we take this structure, it also does. So the next task, we've got prepare for exams, finally writing a story. What I would do here, I would link this task to life more than it is in the book. And I would ask students to imagine that they are preparing a plot of a new TV show with a creative team. I would even show them some YouTube video how the Netflix teams are discussing what they are going to create and brainstorming ideas for new shows. Then I would ask students to come up with their own ideas on the show, discuss these ideas with the team, present these ideas to the producer, which is another team. Yeah, for example, you've got 4 teams in the classroom, and then one team presents to the rest, which is the producer, and they decide if they take this film and make it a film or a TV show later on. Yeah. Then listen to your competitors, because their idea might be useful for you as well, how they developed their plot. Improve your plot. Don't take another one, but improve how you can improve your plot so it becomes more interesting for the producer. And finish the story. And by finishing the story, I mean write it in the appropriate format for the producer, which is 100 words, no more. And this is actually something that that your students might really meet in their life. Describe your projects in 100 words. This might happen. And this is not only the exam task type, but also a life skills tip. So when they finished their story, they used, as we looked at the beginning at the Cambridge Framework for Life Competencies, they used their ideas, they created their own ideas to solve a problem. So their problem, kind of a problem, yeah, their task was to finish the story so it becomes a plot of a film. And then they can go to the project and film it. So not only exam preparation, but also something more interactive and something that serves a bigger aim for life. And here we go. The page 127, you will find a writing part 2 for Cambridge exams, but also for ZNO. It works too. And here we've got exam information. You should choose one of the tasks only, either an article or a story. According to to our topic, we choose the story, and then there is information to read which we must respond to, and we need to write only 100 words. This is our these are our frames. Then read instructions, and we use only question 3 because we're interested in the story. What do we have to do? Sorry for this slide. All right. This is for the article. And this is question 1. We are looking at the question 3. Here is question 3. Your English teacher has asked you to write a story. Your story must begin with the sentence, Jake ran towards the building as quickly as possible. This is our exposition. And then we develop a film. Yeah, if you put it this way, students think more creatively. And here is an exam tip. Read the information carefully, write either your article or your story, making sure you use the information given. When you have finished, check your spelling, punctuation, and grammar carefully. Make sure the language you use is right for the context, formal or informal. And we have this kind of informal story, and we ask students to fit this format. But at the same time, we've given them some structure that they will keep in mind. And here is a story. I need to check my spelling and grammar at the very end. So now I think with this structure, and I've got an exposition. I need to understand where will be the climax and how I finish the story. And I will come back to the slide, which I put in the wrong position. Here, what I've got for this editing work. If we are editing something or publishing a book, for example, we give a first draft. Then in the first draft, we usually receive feedback on the content not grammar, not punctuation, not spelling, but only on the content, on the ideas, and on the structure. So in the first draft, we help students with the structure. Then we give it away and students work with their structure. They provide the second draft. In the second draft, we look at their spelling and punctuation. We give them advice on that. For example, the wrong use of past simple and past continuous, or some adverbs. The text lacks adverbs. So we give it away, and then we ask students to work with all the grammar part. Then we take it again, and this is something we evaluate. We don't edit it, we just correct the mistakes or underline the mistakes, give it to the students, and they can make the final draft. All right. And what I would like to tell you as well is that Prepare now has a really good brochure which you can find online, and I included it into your thank you letter. This is how to teach remotely with Prepare. There are lesson plans for 8 lessons from this book with different structures, and you can find it and use it, especially if you are using Prepare. And I have a lot of slides later on about the book, but I guess we're a little bit running out of time. So Prepare course consists of 7 levels from grade 5 till grade 7, absolutely relevant to the ministry curriculum. Also, it has companion for Ukraine with the topics from the curriculum, for example, in Ukraine or Kiev, or theater and cinema topics are also there. And there are exam levels. Yeah, level 1, 2, 4, and 6 are more connected to life skills, but 3, 5, and 7 are very exam oriented. So your students will be preparing for exams in grade 9 and grade 11 perfectly, and which we all need. Then what I would like to point out, that Prepare Second Edition compared to the first edition is more student friendly in terms of teaching life skills. For example, here you can see the life skills section and teaching culture instead of CLIL sections. And also there are new videos for this course. And my favorite in this course is the teacher's book. You can see it here on the screen and on the slide. What is in the teacher's book? There is a lesson, a page from the book, and the lesson plan, and it's you don't have to turn the pages because it's always on one part. For example, here the page was on the left and the lesson plan on the right. Here it's vice versa. So it's comfortable to use. Just open it and use it during the lesson, and no extra movements here. Also, there is a code here at the beginning that will lead you to eSource, and at the eSource you will have access to all the audio, video materials, tests, additional resources, games, reviews, practice tests for exams, ready-made exam format worksheets, which you can work with for free. So this is what Prepare is, and yeah, the Linguist Company special proposal is that you get one book with workbook, and you have Prepare companion for Ukraine for free. Also, there are other new exam preparation courses like Compact and Complete, and you might be interested in teaching teens courses from our Linguist Training Center with modules, and most probably it will be blended learning together online and offline. Throughout the whole summer, there will be 2 takes of this course. And if you're interested in your professional development with all the certification, you can visit the Linguist Training Center website, or text directly, email directly to our academic director of the Linguist Training Center, Svetlana Drobotenko. She will help you. Do you have any questions? And I'm opening the question box. I've got a lot of thank yous. Thank you very much. Thank you for your involvement. That was great to have such audience. Are your certificates relevant for professional development, as I understand? Yes, it can be decided at your school administration, but yes, our certificates can be taken as a part of your professional development. Thank you. Thank you. Have the books got the digital versions? There is an online workbook and there is a presentation plus edition. And if you are interested in that, you can email me. I will put my contacts here on the slide. You can email me, and I will ask whether they're going to make ebooks. But for now, in Ukraine, we have the print versions only, with also online workbook. Okay, thank you very much, and good luck to you. All right. If there are no more questions, I will wish you to have a nice evening as well. How to watch this webinar once again. To watch the webinar once again, you need to either go to our Facebook page next week, or you will receive a thank you letter where you will have the recording included there together with the certificate. Okay. Could we possibly have another webinar? We have webinars every month, and this month we will have 2 more webinars at the end of the month, not with me, with my wonderful colleague from Cambridge University Press, Olga Madoulos. Some of you know her. She will be delivering webinars for primary and secondary schools, about teenagers as well. And the information about these webinars will be out there in your emails and on our Facebook page and on our website. It will be there next week. So follow the news to register there. The seats will be limited. Okay, I have the wish to stay safe. I will try. You stay safe too, and have a nice summer. All right, goodbye everybody, and hope to see you at the next webinars. Bye.